Listen to this podcast now
on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Leadership Thread with Dr. Peggy Polonis.
I'm Dr. Peggy Polonis. Join me on each episode where I unravel the story that shaped leaders, tracing the thread that led them where they are today. Because leadership isn't born in adulthood. And thank you once again for joining us on the Leadership Thread, education, ethics, and sustainability.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform. It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. 5 o'clock. Good morning. It is Monday, April 6th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Mix of sun and clouds today, the high 57. Tonight and overnight, partly cloudy, low 44, and then Tuesday, sunshine, high 53. If you're walking out the door with us right now, 36 partly cloudy in Sloatsburg up in Rockland County, 43 and clear in Lakewood over in New Jersey, and it's 41 and clear right outside our Midtown studios.
This is the Top 5 at 5.
The president gives Iran one last warning to open the Strait of Hormuz. A crew of thieves looking to steal the most expensive cars in the city. A wild scene with a mom and some flight attendants over Kennedy. Some creepy stuff taking place in a Hudson Valley library. And is it time to open more casinos outside Atlantic City? Voters in New Jersey weigh in. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. Just some breaking news coming into us, actually, just moments before I came on air. The NYPD investigating after a man waving a kitchen knife was shot by cops in Harlem early this morning. Investigators have cordoned off a 2-block scene. This is East 119th Street to 121st Street. What we're being told was this guy was in the door of a local supermarket, City Fresh. This was about 1:40 a.m., waving this knife around. They called the cops. The cops came, told him to put the knife down. Apparently he did not. He advanced at the officers. That's when the cops opened fire. They shot him in the stomach. Now, right now, that man, we're being told, recovering at a local hospital in stable condition. No police officers were injured. A weapon was recovered at the scene. Of course, as more details come in on that breaking news, we'll pass that on to you. It was also a violent evening in Cypress Hills, Brooklyn. One man dead, another critical condition after they were shot in a busy area of Cypress Hills. The bullets flew right near a nail salon. This is on Fulton Street near the Cleveland Street subway station. A 30-year-old man was killed. A 50-year-old hit several times. He's in critical condition. The NYPD says they do have a person of interest in custody, but have not released their name or a motive for that shooting. 5:02. Police on the hunt for some would-be auto thieves here in Midtown with a taste for luxury cars. They were foiled in their attempt to steal from a garage. So one thief did not get far. This was on Sunday. He actually had stolen a McLaren, which is not a cheap car. And as he tried to go away, he crashed into a pole. So he jumped out of this car, raced away. A number of other cars were damaged in this attempted heist out of a garage right near West 43rd Street. The McLaren's owner, who does not want to be identified, said he was shocked to find his car was smashed up.
I've seen a few cars like this in New York, but I couldn't believe it was my car at first. So I had to double check and check the license plate in the back, and then I did see it was my car.
Yes, it was his car. I can tell you at my garage, they put a car in front of the door. So if you open the door, because they've had this happen before, and thieves try to get in, they'd have to get the keys to the car that's blocking the front of the driveway to then get the other cars out. Now, I know that a lot of other garages across the city employs the same tactic. Don't know if that was the case here, but police say the would-be thieves, they got away in another luxury car, and they're still on the loose this morning. The NYPD looking for a train passenger who repeatedly punched a train conductor in the face.
Cops say it happened around 10:30 in the evening on a number 6 train at the Parkchester station in the Bronx. Police say the 58-year-old conductor was putting the train out of service when he saw a man sleeping on the train. He tried to wake him up, and that's when police say the man punched the conductor multiple times in the face and fled. The victim was taken to the hospital in stable condition. In New York, I'm Lisa Salvati.
504, we got this from the NYPD over the weekend. They were asking us to tell you if they could help locate 2 young sisters who went missing from their home in Brooklyn over the weekend. Jerziah Singleton and her sister Jalaya, who's 11. They were last seen leaving their home West 25th Street in Coney Island. This was about 1 in the morning on Saturday. No information about them, but the parents asking if anybody knows about their whereabouts to give Crime Stoppers a call. 505. The president yesterday putting out a post on Truth Social saying that Iran will be living in hell if the Strait of Hormuz isn't opened by Tuesday. The president making the threat yesterday morning and adding that Tuesday will be power plant day and bridge day all wrapped up in one in Iran. It comes after the president posted on social media Saturday giving Iran 48 hours to reopen the vital waterway where about 20% of the world's oil passes through. Tehran quickly rejected the threat with an Iranian general warning that the gates of hell would open on the U.S. if the U.S. escalates the war. And then last night, the president said that there was a possible agreement with Iran that could be finalized as soon as today.
In an interview with Fox News Sunday, he warned that if Iran doesn't make a deal fast, he is considering blowing everything up and taking over the oil. Earlier in the day, Trump wrote on Truth Social that Iran would be living in hell if the Strait of Hormuz remains closed, adding that Tuesday will be power plant day and bridge day all wrapped up in one in Iran. Trump has scheduled a news conference for 1 p.m. Eastern on Monday at the White House to address the latest developments in the conflict. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait till 1 o'clock. Meanwhile, everybody's weighing in. Hudson Valley lawmaker Mike Lawler, of course, a friend of Sid and Friends in the Morning, says the only purpose of putting ground troops in Iran, which is the latest talk, would be to get at that enriched uranium.
And I think that is something that does need to be discussed with Congress in a classified setting. And I think Congress would need to be briefed on that particular matter.
That was Lawler on the Sunday shows. It comes as the White House has reportedly been looking at possibly using ground troops in the region with the war now in its 6th week.
And I think the only purpose that I could see would be to get the enriched uranium.
Well, Ohio Republican Congressman Mike Turner says he doesn't believe ground troops will be necessary to reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
In this instance, we're seeing that the conflict is continuing with the president beginning to, in conjunction with Israel, significantly diminish Iran's military capabilities.
Now, he was on the news shows as well yesterday. He was pressed on whether ground troops would be necessary at all.
Well, I think certainly you're seeing that even as this conflict evolves, that is being put in place. And I don't think U.S. ground troops are going to be necessary in any direct conflict.
Democrats taking to the news shows as well, critical, no surprise, of this war. Governor Wes Moore warning the U.S. could be lurching again into another forever war paid for by the American people. Now, the Governor Wes Moore comparing this war with Iran to the war in Afghanistan.
We lost over 2,400 American lives. And we did it because we said we wanted to change the Taliban. Mm-hmm. And 20 years later, you know who's in charge of Afghanistan? The Taliban.
Moore added that while President Trump touts the success of Operation Epic Fury, he's yet to acknowledge the fact that there's a long road ahead.
And so I feel like we are lurching into another one of these forever wars that we're asking the American people to pay for. But the President of the United States and the Commander-in-Chief has still yet to articulate what exactly it is that we're doing.
Democratic Senator Tim Kaine, who was also on the Sunday shows, calling on the White House to tone down the rhetoric, adding that the kind of language that the president used in that Truth Social post on Sunday is not helping and maybe putting service members at risk.
The likelihood of having downed pilots or others who are captured in a war like this is very high. Mm-hmm. And if you send the message that there's no quarter for the folks folks on the other side, that really encourages them to mistreat our folks. Bombing them back to the Stone Age, cursing them, Secretary Hegseth saying, it's death from above, no mercy, no quarter. We will ignore stupid rules of engagement. This is all embarrassing and juvenile.
The Pentagon says over 300 service members have been injured during the war so far. 13 have been killed. Again, the president saying he has a 1 o'clock press conference today from the White House where he'll give us an update on the latest on the war in Iran. Meanwhile, oil prices are up after the president launched that threat against Iran on Sunday.
The president said the U.S. would destroy power plants and bridges Tuesday if Iran doesn't open the Strait of Hormuz to commercial oil traffic. West Texas intermediate oil futures are at around $111 a barrel after spiking at $115. Brent crude futures are at about $110. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
All right, let's talk about how great these American special forces are as they race to locate that U.S. airman stranded inside Iran after the downing of his fighter jet on Friday. U.S. intelligence officers mounted this bold plan to prevent Tehran from getting to him first, which would have been just horrible. So apparently the CIA spread word inside Iran that U.S. forces had already found the airman. Remember, we were getting those conflicting reports over the weekend that they had found him? Well, the CIA put those words out there, even though he had not been found. And they also spread the word that they had found this airman and they were taking him out of the country by ground. So they thought that would give them more time as Iranians went to the streets looking for a car with this airman inside. That bought time for the CIA to locate the downed airman and quietly relay his precise whereabouts to the White House and Pentagon. U.S. Special Forces ultimately managed to find and rescue that airman. This was late Saturday in what President Trump hailed in a social media post as one of the most daring search and rescue operations in U.S. history. The high-stakes rescue operation prevented the Iranians from capturing the airman and what would have been for sure a significant political embarrassment for the Trump administration and, more importantly, a powerful bargaining chip for Tehran as this war stretches into its sixth month. Now, the airmen had been missing since Friday when Iranian forces downed that F-15 fighter jet, the first time a U.S. jet was brought down inside Iran since the start of the war. While U.S. forces quickly rescued the pilot of the F-15, the weapons systems officer was unaccounted for 2 days, setting off that scramble between the U.S. and Iran to get to him first. Thank God the U.S. got to him first. He is injured, but they say he's going to be okay. 5:11. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the U.S. has arrested family members of deceased Iranian Qassem Soleimani.
Rubio said Saturday the niece and grandniece of Soleimani have had their permanent resident status revoked. They're now in ICE custody pending removal from the United States. Soleimani was a key general in Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and was killed during an American airstrike in Iraq in 2020. Rubio claims Soleimani's niece is a supporter of the Iranian government and said the Trump administration won't let the country become a home for foreign nationals who support anti-American terrorist regimes. I'm Rob Martier.
WABC News Time 5:12. Pope Leo celebrating Easter Vigil Mass in St. Peter's Basilica. The first American pope began the liturgy in the darkness on Holy Saturday night with cardinals, bishops, and priests carrying lit candles into the basilica to signify the light of Christ coming to dispel the darkness. And then the morning of Easter Sunday, he presided over Mass in St. Peter's Square.
Fratelli e sorelle, dopo il solenne inizio della veglia, ascoltiamo con cuore sereno la parola di Dio. Meditiamo come nell'antica alleanza.
He offered many greetings in many languages, including English.
Happy Easter!
I recognize that.
May you bring the joy of Jesus, who is risen and present in our midst, to all you meet.
Then you heard the bells of St. Peter's Basilica following Easter Mass. The Pope, in his message on Sunday, he warned that the world was becoming accustomed to violence in his Easter message from the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, delivering a rallying cry against war and the hatred of tens of thousands of conflicts that have raged all over the world. He called on all those to put their arms down and make peace with each other. 5:13, let's bring it back home. Act Blue, a central piece of the Democratic Party's fundraising infrastructure, potentially misled Congress when it said it was adequately vetting incoming donations, according to a new report.
Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche says the DOJ is looking into the activities of Democratic fundraising machine Act Blue. The New York Times just reported the PAC may have misled Congress when it comes to its donation vetting process. Blanche was on Fox News where he said the Justice Department is already probing this issue.
I can tell you that is a priority of this administration and this Department of Justice, and it's something that a lot of people have been very worried about for a very long time, and you should rest assured that it includes the Department of Justice and it includes me.
According to the Times, a law firm working for Act Blue warned the PAC that they may have misled Congress in a 2023 letter to GOP investigators who were concerned of illegal foreign donations. Democrats are worried that any criminal allegations could disrupt fundraising efforts for the upcoming midterms. I'm Liz Radabali for 77 WABC News.
WABC News Time 514. Cuba's government freeing more than 2,000 prisoners now. More from correspondent Mitch McCann.
Cuba's embassy in Washington said the release of the prisoners is designed to coincide with Holy Week, an important religious occasion in a country that's largely Catholic. According to the New York Times, the prisoner release includes young people, those over 60, foreign nationals, and Cubans who live overseas.
According to reports from the ruling Communist Party's official newspaper, pardons were granted based on inmates' good conduct, their health status, and the nature of the acts that they committed.
It's unclear if Cuba's decision is to appease Washington, whose oil blockade has contributed to devastating power outages in recent months. In March, Donald Trump told reporters he believed that he would have the honor of taking Cuba without providing further explanation as to what he meant.
Now, the list does not include prisoners who committed crimes such as murder, homicide, sex assault, or what they call crimes against the authority. Cuba's announcement comes as it faces increasing pressure from the White House. All right, in a moment, we'll tell you whether King Charles may meet with Jeffrey Epstein survivors. We'll get into that story in just a moment. He's coming stateside soon. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Happy Monday. Good morning, Justin Ellick.
Happy Monday. Good morning to you, Noam Aladen. Start with a breakdown of your Final Four on Saturday. The national championship all set and ready for tonight. In the battle of the one seeds, Michigan beat Arizona 91-73. And UConn besting Illinois 71-62. So it's set for tonight, 8:50 p.m. tip-off. 2-seed UConn going up against 1-seed Michigan for the NCAA Men's Basketball National Championship. Michigan is 7.5-point favorites heading in there.
They look good, boy.
Oh, yeah.
Michigan doesn't look like anybody could beat them.
No, but listen, Dan Hurley's got a lot of heart. It was UConn Huskies. I think we'll be rooting for him. No, Wood?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course.
I think, if you're living in the tri-state area, you got to be rooting for the Huskies over the Wolverines tonight. So we'll be watching that. On the professional hardwood, the Nets beat the Wizards 121-115. The Knicks will be back at it tonight out in Atlanta against the Hawks at 7 p.m. Big news out of the NHL here locally. Patrick Waugh was fired as head coach of the Islanders yesterday. Another late season change in the NHL that comes with a team in the middle of a spring tailspin that has put their playoff chances in jeopardy. First year general manager Matthew Darche announced the abrupt decision to part ways with Waugh and named Peter Dubois his replacement with 4 games left in the regular season. The Islanders have lost 4 in a row in 7 of their last 10 games, going from comfortably in a playoff spot to needing help down the stretch in a competitive Eastern Conference race. Weird time to do that, but
yeah, very strange.
You bring in a big name in Dubois, and you'll see, I guess, how he does in these final 4 games. Good test for next season, I guess. Head to the MLB in San Francisco. Pinch hitter Luis Torrens keyed New York's 4-run 8th inning with a 2-run double, and the Mets made it 3 straight wins over the Giants with a 5-2 victory in yesterday's finale, taking the series 3-4. Up next for the Mets, the righty Freddie Peralta will get the start in tonight's opener back in Queens against the Arizona Diamondbacks. In the Bronx, Yankees dropped their series finale 7-6 to the Marlins, salting their 4-game winning streak heading in a game that started after a 3-hour, 35-minute rain delay. Max Fried handed a 4-3 lead to the bullpen with the help of 2 overturned calls on 6th-inning video reviews before Fernando Cruz and Jake Bird failed to hold the lead thereafter. Ben Rice homered for the 3rd time in 4 games, a 3-run drive in the first off of closer Pete Fairbanks, who opened the game. He had to run out of there, going on paternity leave. His wife going into induced labor. Up next for the Yanks, an off day today before welcoming in the Athletics tomorrow night.
You were at opening game. That was a good, I should say, home opener for the Yankees on Friday.
Yeah, Sid Rosenberg and myself.
Great weather. They won big, so
it was wonderful. Great atmosphere. The seats were packed. The energy was there, and the Yankees, they kept on winning over the weekend despite yesterday's loss. Still kept on winning, win that series 2-3, and they keep on moving forward. But it was a great time at the ballpark on a Friday. Feels like baseball season, Noam Layden.
It does
indeed. That's your sports. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
Thank you very much, Justin. 519. The family of a Jeffrey Epstein survivor wants King Charles to meet with victims when he comes to the U.S. later this month.
Relatives of the late Virginia Giuffre say the king needs to hear what those who were trafficked by Epstein have to say. Charles is expected to make his first state visit starting April 27th. Giuffre gained prominence when she brought up allegations of abuse at the hands of former Prince Andrew, King Charles' brother. Andrew and Giuffre settled out of court before her death, and Andrew was stripped of his royal titles. I'm Mark Mayfield.
NASA giving a status update for Artemis 2. During a briefing, the agency said the mission continues to perform well overall. Crew continues to be in great spirits.
Currently, the crew is more than 100,000 miles from the Earth and about 150,000 miles to go away from the moon.
Well, actually, they're closer now. That was a weekend press conference. The Orion spacecraft scheduled to make a flyby by the moon later today.
NASA says the flyby will officially get underway at 2:45 p.m. Eastern and last several hours. While in their Orion spacecraft, the 4 astronauts will be taking pictures and making scientific observations as they come within 4,000 miles of the surface of the moon at their closest approach. They'll lose communications with ground control for about 40 minutes as they pass behind the moon on its dark side. It's during this flyby that the Artemis 2 crew will venture deeper into space than humanity has ever been before. The mission comes to an end Friday with a splashdown off the coast of Southern California. I'm Mark Mayfield.
From outer space, let's bring it back home, down to Louisiana, where over a dozen people in the hospital after a car drove into a parade route over the weekend in southern Louisiana.
The Iberia Parish Sheriff's Office says 15 people were injured Saturday afternoon, some seriously, when a vehicle drove into a crowd at the Louisiana Lown New Year Festival in the town of Broussard.
There were kids on the golf cart in front of us. They flew off, and it was just really gruesome.
Festival organizers say they canceled the rest of the day's events and are now praying for the victims and their families. The sheriff's office says it doesn't appear the crash was intentional. Louisiana State Police say 57-year-old Todd Landry has been charged with driving while impaired and 18 counts of first-degree negligent injuring. I'm Michael Kastner.
No injuries reported after a small plane that took off from New Jersey over the weekend was forced to make an emergency landing on an interstate in eastern Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania State Police say the 65-year-old pilot and his 34-year-old daughter were en route from New Jersey to Indiana Saturday morning to attend the Final Four games when their small plane started experiencing engine trouble over Pennsylvania. Radio transmission showed the pilot felt he had no choice but to land on Interstate 78 west of Allentown. The emergency landing brought freeway traffic to a halt for hours, but both the pilot and his daughter landed safely. I'm Jim Forbes.
522. Let's go out to Northern California, where an investigation continues into that dangerous avalanche terrain that killed 9 people back in February. The professional guides that led a group of skiers into that terrain that killed 9 people, they are being asked a lot of questions, according to a new report that just came out from the Sierra Avalanche Center. Dale Atkins, he's the former president of that association, says a large group increased the odds of being caught in an avalanche, and he said those professional guides should have known that before they took these skiers out.
Reading the report about the accident is painful, but in some ways it's not that unusual from other accidents that happen around the U.S. and even around the world.
The February 17th trip near Lake Tahoe would give way to the deadliest avalanche in California history. The report says a group of 15 skiers skied into this area with a high risk of avalanches, even though safer routes were available. And apparently they did not follow safety practices like letting one person at the time go into the dangerous area.
Surviving an avalanche is about luck, but you can put yourself in a lucky place when you've got knowledgeable, skilled people with the right gear.
Yeah, skiers also wore special safety backpacks that should have helped them breathe if buried. It's unclear why those did not deploy. It's also still unknown if the avalanche occurred naturally or was triggered by that large group of skiers. 5:23, in a video recorded for the Good Shepherd New York Church's digital Easter gathering yesterday, Savannah Guthrie admitted that sometimes life itself seems harder than death. She's talking, of course, about the fact that her mother, Nancy, 84-year-old, has been missing from her Tucson home for more than 2 months. Police believe she's been kidnapped, but there's no sign, no clues to where she is. And Savannah Guthrie says that's played on her Christian faith over the last 2 months.
We celebrate today the promise of a new life that never ends in death. But standing here today, I have to tell you, there are moments in which that promise seems irretrievably far away, when life itself seems far harder than death.
Yeah, I'm not sure why she'd agreed to do this, but I guess she's a member of the church, and she wanted to talk about faith in dark times. A little more from her.
Recently, though, in my own season of trial, I have wondered. I have questioned whether Jesus really ever experienced this particular wound that I feel, this grievous and uniquely cruel injury of not knowing, of uncertainty and confusion, and answers withheld.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, just a horrendous time for the entire Guthrie family. Savannah will be back, though. She's returning to the Today Show this morning.
She's been on leave since February when her 84-year-old mother, Nancy Guthrie, went missing in a suspected abduction from her southern Arizona home. So far, there's been no trace of Nancy and no suspects have been identified. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
5:25, 2 Easter eagles have landed. 2 chicks hatched this weekend for a California bald eagle couple that's been watched online around the world. One of, they all have names, these birds. One of Jackie and Shadow's babies broke out of its shell Saturday night into Sunday, then was joined by a sibling on Sunday morning. Now, there's a webcam. This is in Big Bear, and they've been watching these birds hatch or not hatch over the last couple months. So the webcam for this Big Bear couple, now a family of 4, showed the chicks stumbling around the nest being fed high up in the trees in the mountains east of Los Angeles. Almost 50,000 were watching on Sunday morning. Many were crushed when Jackie and Shadow's first 2 eggs this year were destroyed by ravens. You got to watch this all on camera. Next up, Friends of Big Bear Valley, which runs the cams, will hold a naming contest for those new birds. And it appears love is in the air at the Smithsonian National Zoo in D.C. Correspondent Ryan Obelis reports that there's been a lot of flirting going on between the zoo's 2 giant pandas, even though they live in separate cages.
They share what the zoo calls howdy windows, mesh screens that allow the pair to interact with one another safely. Lally says the sparks between the bears are positive signs that Bao Li and Qin Bao could potentially breed naturally one day.
Now, this would be a huge deal because all of the zoo's previous cubs have been conceived through artificial insemination. At 4 years old, that's how old these pandas are, they have not reached the breeding age, but they're not too far away either.
If the pandas are able to conceive a cub naturally, it would be the first time in decades for the zoo's conservation program of this vulnerable species, which dates back to the 70s when China sent pandas Ling Ling and Sing Sing as a diplomatic gift following President Nixon's visit to the country.
And we heard from the head zookeeper over the weekend. She says the giant pandas are being kept in their separate enclosures away from each other for now.
Most likely if we open that door, it would just be a big play session. Mm-hmm. We're not going to do that. We're just kind of, letting them be teenagers right now.
Yeah, so you'll remember these 2 cubs, they arrived at the zoo back in 2024, expected to stay here for about 10 years. 5:28, the winners of the NCAA Women's Basketball Championship back in Los Angeles this morning.
UCLA head coach Corey Close and her players were surrounded by excited fans when they arrived back on campus.
It's meaningful because we get to share it with the amazing LA
and UCLA community, and that's what makes it special.
The Bruins crushed South Carolina 79-51 on Sunday, capping off a near-perfect 37-1 season and winning their first WNCA basketball championship. An official celebration will take place on Wednesday at Pauley Pavilion. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
528. The Super Mario's Galaxy movie's a hit around the world. The animated film, based on the classic Nintendo game, listen to this, made $1.3 billion in its first 4 days. It made $574 million here in the U.S., currently the number one film in the U.K., Ireland, Germany, Spain, Italy, China, and Mexico. While we're talking Los Angeles box office, the Writers Guild of America making a surprise deal with the major studios over the weekend.
The Guild reached a tentative agreement on Saturday with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. The deal will stand for 4 years instead of the typical 3-year term. Details were limited, but the deal is expected to include a major cash infusion into the Guild's health fund. The agreement must still be approved by the WGA board, then sent to members for ratification. I'm Mark Mayfield.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour. Talking the news with Noam Laden. All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now, Talking the News with Noam on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Monday, April 6th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Mix of sun and clouds today, the high 57. Tonight and overnight, partly cloudy, low 44, and then Tuesday sunshine, high 53. If you're walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are, 36 partly cloudy in Sloatsburg up in Rockland County, 43 and clear in Lakewood over in New Jersey, and it's 41 and clear right outside our Midtown studios. All right, yesterday, of course, Easter Sunday, which means some of the city's most colorful traditions play out outside St. Patrick's Cathedral, and even amid some heavy rain yesterday, there were thousands of people lining Fifth Avenue for the annual Easter Parade and Bonnet Festival with these over-the-top hats, spring fashion taking center stage. It all unfolded right after Easter services ended, and there was a ton of people who make it just, an annual pilgrimage to come there every year.
This is a New York thing. Yeah. And if you know, right?
I've been in New York for 20 years, and it's my first year coming.
What do you think?
It's amazing.
This is about Easter and rebirth, and so we're all trying to put smiles on our faces and flowers on our heads.
Yeah, the parade dates back to the 1870s, where people would stroll the avenue, show off the latest spring looks. This tradition is evolved now into being all about the bonnets, where the rule is to sort of not follow any rules. Mayor Mamdani, he spent Easter yesterday making appearances at a number of churches across the city.
Across the 5 boroughs, the people of our city are marking this holy day with the color and vibrancy that New Yorkers bring to everything that we do. There will be singing, sky-high bonnets, strolls through the park, egg hunts, and potato salad.
The mayor then had his Easter dinner with veterans at the Commonwealth Veterans Residence up in the Bronx, which was appreciated by the men and women there.
It's a message to all veterans that the city of New York is with them, that this is a new era, an era that wants to make sure that veterans and their families are included.
Yeah, that building has about 75 units housing formerly homeless veterans. In 1 week, Mayor Mamdani is going to mark his 100th day in office, which has become some sort of milestone. That's Sunday, April 12th. Throughout his first few months on the job, the city's youngest mayor in over a century has already been put to the test, whether it's handling the extreme cold, that snowball fight in the village, and we can go on and on. So there are people weighing in already about how he's doing, and you might not be surprised to hear how some of them feel. Here's former Mayor Bill de Blasio talking about how he thinks Mayor Mamdani's doing so far. I bet you can guess what kind of grade he's going to give him.
I don't give letter grades, but I would say I think he's doing very well. I think he has really been consistent. He set out an extremely clear, powerful agenda in the campaign. And I want to give him a lot of credit that everyday New Yorkers across the whole city understood what he wanted to do.
They're kind of one and the same, the Mayor de Blasio and the current mayor, and so no surprise that he's giving him some high marks.
The plan he came to with Governor Hochul for universal child care is a wonderful example. I mean, that is something that a lot of people have said extremely hard to achieve. He handled the politics correctly. He handled the policy correctly. He got, the sitting governor to agree to something that's going to have a seismic effect, and I think will become a national model.
All right, so we'll take to the streets as this week goes on and ask you, the voter, what you think about the first 100 days of Mayor Mamdani. What's with a fence that has gone up in Battery Park City? A lot of people very unhappy with this fence.
We believe it's too tall, too long. It doesn't need to be all the way through the promenade.
So you can't get a good shot. You can't see anything.
Tourists are being dealt a tough time over in Battery Park City. The views of Lady Liberty from the waterfront is now blocked by a new fence. People that want to see the iconic statue unobstructed have to pay and hop on the ferry.
The irony is that you're getting on this ship to go see the Statue of Liberty, which represents freedom, right?
The National Park Service says the fence is an upgrade of a previous barrier that has been up at the park since 2004. They went on to say removing the fencing would pose an unnecessary risk to ferry operations that they said cancels out any aesthetic concerns. But some New Yorkers disagree.
Take it off. Take it off. Let the people enjoy, right?
I'm Liz Radabali for 77 WABC News.
WABC News Time 543. Dozens of community members, faith leaders, elected officials holding a prayer service over the weekend in Bushwick to honor that 7-month-old Kaori Patterson Moore who was killed by a stray bullet last week. Loved ones remember the baby girl as an angel who was always happy and smiling. The deadly shooting, it happened last Wednesday about 1:30 in the afternoon. Police say a gunman fired into a crowd on Moore Streets. The mother of the baby girl who was shot and killed in the stroller says parents aren't doing their job. She spoke at this vigil over the weekend.
They don't know. They don't have the morals. They don't have the principles. Some of them don't have that grandmother that was outside telling them, you can't do this.
Yeah, she says they need to teach their kids about not playing with guns. Kaori Patterson's mother says that her daughter should still be alive today. New York Attorney General Tish James was there along with some community members and clergy. James had a message for the young men with illegal guns. Both, by the way, have been captured now. 2 men on a moped charged with murder.
It's just a matter of time that we take you down.
New York Daily News reports the alleged shooter, 21-year-old Amori Green, told police he was aiming for the baby's father, not for the baby. 544. Crazy scene on a flight over Kennedy Airport over the weekend. A woman went into labor as the flight was about to land. Caribbean Airlines confirmed the woman gave birth. This was a flight which was en route from Kingston, Jamaica to New York City Saturday. Here's what it sounded like between air traffic control and the people on the plane who realized all of a sudden they were going to have to help this woman give birth on this flight.
We have a passenger, a pregnant passenger who's going into labor and requesting direct details.
Caribbean 5, roger that. And Caribbean 5, would you like the medical personnel at your gate?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Now, it did not take long for this woman to give birth. Can you imagine sitting on this plane and a woman goes into labor? I mean, you think someone yelling up and down the aisles is bad enough, but a woman giving birth. But it all went well, thankfully.
Caribbean 5 ground?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Is it out yet?
Yes, sir.
All right. Tell her she's got to name it Kennedy.
Kennedy. Will do.
Yeah, the airline said the mom, newborn, thank God. Okay, they were attended by personnel once they arrived at JFK. No word if the mother did actually name that baby Kennedy. All right, 545. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Allen.
Thank you, Noam Layden. Start with your Final Four recap in the NCAA men's basketball tournament on Saturday. The 1 seeds between Michigan and Arizona. Wolverines prevailing there, 91-73, and then UConn beating Illinois 71-62. So your national championship game is set and ready for tonight. 2-seed UConn against 1-seed Michigan. Michigan there, 7.5-point favorites. On the NBA hardwood, the Nets, they beat the Wizards 121-115. The Knicks, they're back at it tonight in Atlanta against the Hawks at 7 p.m. Big news over the weekend out of the NHL locally here. Patrick Waugh was fired as as coach of the Islanders yesterday. Another late season change in the NHL that comes with the team in the middle of a spring tailspin that has put their playoff chances in jeopardy. The team announcing the abrupt decision to part ways with Roy, and name Peter Dubois his replacement with 4 games left in the regular season. The Islanders have lost 4 in a row in 7 of their past 10 games, going from comfortably in a playoff spot to needing help down the stretch in a competitive Eastern Conference race. So we will keep a close eye on the Isles down the stretch here. Head to the Diamond in San Francisco. Pinch hitter Luis Torrens keyed New York's 4-run 8th inning with a 2-run double, and the Mets made it 3 straight wins over the Giants with a 5-2 victory in yesterday's finale, taking the series 3 games to 4. Up next for the Mets, the righty Freddie Peralta will get the start in tonight's opener back in Queens against the Arizona Diamondbacks. And out in the Bronx, the Yankees dropped their series finale 7-6 to the Marlins, halting their 4-game winning streak heading in a game that started after a 3-hour, 35-minute rain delay. Max Fried handed a 4-3 lead to the bullpen with the help of 2 overturned calls on 6th-inning video reviews before Fernando Cruz and Jake Bird failed to hold the lead thereafter. Ben Rice homered for the 3rd time in 4 games, a 3-run drive in the first-off closer Pete Fairbanks. Up next for the Yanks, an off day today before welcoming in the Athletics for a 3-game set starting tomorrow night. That is your sports. Noam, and I'm Justin Alec on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:48. The president is going to hold a big press conference 1 o'clock this afternoon. This is going to talk about the rescue of that F-15 crew member in Iran that took place over the weekend, and about what he's going to do in Iran. He gave them a 48-hour deadline to open the Strait of Hormuz.
The crew member ejected when the jet was shot down Friday and was safely brought back by U.S. forces late Saturday in what Trump called one of the most daring search and rescue operations in U.S. history. The pilot was rescued the same day the aircraft was downed. Trump will speak to reporters at 1 p.m. Eastern from the White House briefing room. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
No doubt we'll have that press conference coming up at 1 o'clock today. 5:49, Senator Booker says he's not ruling out the prospect of running for president in 2028, but he says right now he's focused on running for re-election to the Senate this year. He's running in November.
As a whole, our party has failed this moment. It's why I've called for new leadership in America. I've called for a generational renewal because this left-right divide is killing our country, and our adversaries know it. They come onto our social media and try to whip up hate in America.
Booker has served in the Senate since 2013, has already run for president once in the 2020 presidential election cycle. That year, he dropped out of the Democratic presidential primary in early January, citing a lack of funds to continue his campaign. He's got a lot more money now. He's raised $10 million so far for his senatorial re-election campaign in November, but he does say he does have an eye on the White House race, but he hasn't made a decision yet.
I am definitely not ruling it out. I'm running for re-election. I hope New Jersey will support me for another 6 years. But what I love about her is she knows as a partnership we are better than we were before we met, and I'm excited about whatever challenges we may take on as a couple.
The her he's talking about is his new wife. He says he'll make a decision with connections to her and how she feels about a run for the White House.
That's Booker.
That is.
I am enthusiastically endorsing Alex Zidane. In fact, I've got a big event with Alex coming up Thursday night, April the 24th, in the beautiful state of New Jersey. I know it's going to be an uphill battle, but I will do anything it takes to help beat that idiot Cory Booker.
Well, first he's got to win the primary, which is not slam dunk.
That's true, too. There's a couple of Republicans. So, it's no slam dunk for Zidane, but everybody in Jersey, you got to do the best you can to make sure Booker doesn't win again, even though he is the overwhelming favorite.
Yeah, the money's on him, unfortunately, for people in New Jersey. New Jersey lawmakers, advocates pushing legislation to protect kids online as AI becomes more prevalent. The influx of AI chatbots and an array of apps are the inspiration behind Congressman Josh Gottheimer's proposed bill called the Parents Decide Act.
As a parent, don't you want the power to decide if your kid should access these apps and how they interact with an AI chatbot? Shouldn't that be up to you?
The measure would require operating systems like Android and iOS to verify a new user's age as soon as they activate the device.
This is practical, this is implementable, and already within our reach. We're not talking about reinventing the wheel here. We're talking about making the system we have actually work together.
The device would be able to then share a child's age across all the platforms, so they'll only see age-appropriate apps and content. A neglected dog clawing to life after it was found on the side of a road in Monmouth County, New Jersey.
The county's SPCA says the dog they've named Firefox was left to die in a roadside crate in Marlboro earlier this week. They say Firefox, breed uncertain, weighed just 3 pounds, could not walk, and was skeletal from starvation. They say he barely survived his first night with them. Monmouth SPCA is asking for donations to help them care for Firefox. They're also asking if anyone knows who abandoned him to reach out to them or Marlboro police. I'm Andrew Whitman.
New Jersey lawmakers once again considering allowing casinos to open at existing racetracks, including the Meadowlands and Monmouth Park, in an effort to compete with new casinos set to open in neighboring New York. At Fairleigh Dickinson University poll, though, finds about 50% of voters oppose expanding casino gambling statewide. 44% support it. There were some people out talking about this yesterday.
It appears like a no-brainer. We do it on the apps. We do it in other venues, and why not have it in a local venue?
Our favorite times are going down to AC, have some dinner, and gamble a little bit. She gambles, I watch her, and we love
gambles. We're all gamblers. We get together and we gamble online. We like it.
So being in Longbridge will be really great.
You know what's interesting is these numbers of this new poll, this Fairleigh Dickinson poll, that shows 50% of New Jerseyans oppose expanding casino gambling, 44% support it. Those were the exact same numbers when they did a poll back in 2014. So it seems minds have not been changed. Here's one voter who says she's not so sure they should expand casinos outside of Atlantic City.
I think it could help the economy. I just, I know there's gambling addictions, and hopefully everyone's doing it responsibly.
In 2016, voters said no to a statewide referendum to expand casino gambling outside of Atlantic City. Out to Long Island, where there are some shocking drinking and driving numbers there.
All the wonderful things in life that are coming to you, all gone like that. In an instant, you make a decision that takes somebody else's life.
Long Island has an alarming problem when it comes to teens boozing and cruising. Stats show that there has been a spike in teen DWI arrests in Nassau and Suffolk. Nassau County saw a 13% spike last year, and Suffolk even more, with a 110% increase over the past 2 years. Recovery workers hope that with aggressive outreach and conversations at home, things can change.
We make sure that young people are having the conversations and getting the care they need, that there's hope that we can begin to reverse this trend.
If you're drinking underage or even above age, you're not alone, and people are there for you to support you through your process of being recovered.
Data from the state's Office of Addiction Services shows Long Island teens are drinking earlier, with some starting as early as 7th grade. I'm Liz Radabali for 77 WABC News.
While we're out on Long Island, Suffolk County police investigating after 2 teens were caught throwing eggs at cars. Now you say, well, that happens like in every small town, but apparently some real serious damage. One driver who did not want to talk about what exactly had happened to him said he had about a $1,700 repair bill from these eggs being thrown and damaging one of his side view mirrors. So this video of the kids throwing eggs at cars has circulated online across Suffolk County, and everybody's reacting to it in a different way.
Kids will be kids, without a doubt, and as long as nobody gets hurt, it's just, to me, it's normal mischief.
Yeah, others are a little more concerned than that.
Because if you're driving, you're focusing on the highway, you're not focusing on things coming at you. That could actually disturb someone's driving to the point where they strike another vehicle, get into a serious accident.
Now, it depends on how old these kids are. They could face charges, or their parents, in some cases, could be charged for the damage they've done to these cars. And we'll end this hour up in Haverstraw, up in the Hudson Valley, where they're investigating people getting onto public computers at the King's Daughter Public Library and looking at porn. This is like very 2010 of these people. Don't they know they have a phone they could use? But apparently there's been a number of instances where people have come into the library and they've watched as people use these library computers to look at pornography.
It looked like he was on some perverted website. All I saw was a woman with her shirt off. It was just so creepy. Not appropriate at all. No. I think maybe the library should take better precautions.
Yeah, again, you got your phone, you got watch a home computer, not the public computer at the local library. But Haverstraw Police telling us it's on their radar, and now officers there have been patrolling the library to watch and make sure people don't look at porn on public computers there.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
This is Greg Kelly. Donate now to Toys for Tots, which works year-round. Go to toysfortots.org. Toys for Tots supports children in need throughout the year with programs like the Toys for Tots Literacy Program. Established in 2008, it has provided over 63 million books to disadvantaged children. The Toys for Tots Literacy Program is committed to providing disadvantaged children with direct access to books and educational resources that enhance their ability to read and communicate effectively. Go to toysfortots.org.